everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, I'm Hannah. I'm a recovering millennial girl boss, and it is the beginning of 2026, which means goal setting time. Although, actually not in this video, maybe a little bit in this video. I want to share with you how I organize and plan my entire year. But before you freak out, no, I do absolutely not plan my entire year at the beginning of the year. That's insane. And that is also something that I have been on a bit of a journey with lately. The full context of that we'll get to, but you know, it's just got all the usual stuff to do with being a mum, having a chronic illness, trying for another baby, blah, blah, blah. So I use the 12-week year structure to plan my work life. So what is a 12-week year plan? It comes from a book. Have I read the book? No, I have not. But that doesn't matter. Essentially, the 12-week year is about splitting up your year into 12-week chunks. So instead of setting goals that are for the entire 12 months, the entire year, you break it down. Basically, you're splitting your year up into quarters. So really revolutionary here, guys. But by taking it in these 12-week chunks, you're making your goals more achievable, more relevant, and less daunting. And this is why I decided to use the 12-week year plan. So I started using it half-assedly in February 2025, just experimenting with it, trying out, seeing if I liked it. And this was after my whole meltdown about trying to conceive and feeling like I'm in this career limbo, not being able to really make any plans or take any actions because constantly thinking, oh, maybe I'll be pregnant. Like, who knows? Spoiler alert, 2 years later, still not pregnant. And I just felt like I was in this limbo phase and I couldn't set any goals, and it was really difficult for me to feel any sense of achievement when I looked back on what I'd been doing. And I had a coaching session around that time, and one of the things that came out of that for me was that I needed to be setting smaller goals with smaller timeframes. They needed to be manageable, but I also needed to feel like they were giving me some kind of momentum and that I could look back and go, oh, we did this. I did this. And so that was where the idea of Little Wins was born, which is this short form series that I've been doing. And then that's also when I was like, I'm gonna try the 12-week year thing, because I'd heard of it. I'd heard it floating around. Remember, recovering millennial girl boss here. Like, I hear about all the productivity things because I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. And then I just have to remember myself. So I started experimenting with it myself in February. And then by May, I was like, yep, I like it, this is good. And I shared it with Moog, who is my assistant, and we started using it together. So this is how I use the 12-week year plan. First off, we are not strict about having 4 12-week chunks in a year. The traditional way, I believe, who knows, I've not read the book, is you have your 12-week chunk and then there's like a bonus 13th week just in case you need it, because then if you have 4 sets of 13 weeks in a year, that's the full 52 weeks. However, I need holidays, I need scheduled in breaks. I also have a child who is now at a nursery attached to a primary school, so we are existing within the school term time system. So that makes so much more sense to me of just doing 3 12-week chunks a year, but the 12-week chunks are kind of like split up in the middle with a half term, which can be used maybe for work, maybe for catching up on things, but essentially 3 chunks of 12 weeks split by holidays. And we've yet to have our 6-week summer yet. My first foray into that experience as a parent will be this year. But I like this setup that we have because it just allows for more breaks and more flexibility. And so essentially it's 3 12-week chunks and then 1 6-week chunk where less might be getting done. And then me and Moog also started doing weekly check-ins. Before this, we definitely checked in with each other once a month and maybe like a sporadic thing here or there if needed, but actually doing weekly check-ins with your team, oh my goodness, life-changing. Love it. I think we feel so much more connected because we work remotely, and so a lot of the times we're just like chatting on Discord and talking about what's going on with work, but having these like weekly calls, great. love it. And we can be like, how far along are we on these goals? Like, where are we at? What week are we in? Diddle-dee. And on a practical level, the way that I do the 12-week year plan is in Notion. And I found a template that I paid for. Someone else made it, but I massively simplified it because so many of these Notion templates are just overcomplicated, and I'm like, I'm not going to use any of that. But let me give you a little tour around what we use. So this is where I keep all of my 12-week year planners. Here are the templates. So this is the original template, and then this is my edited, simplified one. As you can see, essentially, it's just all of this stuff like planning. List out the tactics to tackle the goal below. Are you willing to pay the cost to reach this goal? And maybe I would be more successful if I like took a minute and did some of the like reflections and like the plannings, but no, I don't have time for that. So my edited one, this is a blank template, is literally just goal and then the tasks. There's like none of the fluff, no fluff. So this is last year's one, so we can move that to archive. And then this is now our current one. And then this is our upcoming, and I pop in the dates. Okay, so let me show you what our last one looked like. So this is what it looks like. So we have our goals and they have little images. So we have B-roll library. This was actually just a really quick little addition at the end of the year. That was a little job for Moog. And sometimes we just like adding a little goal in so we have the satisfaction of ticking it off and seeing this bar hit 100%. Love that for us. The Creator Wheel of Life. This was a free download that I made for my newsletter, Creator Talks. And so there was a lot of stuff involved in making that and the content and the promotion stuff to go around it. Did that, probably should still keep promoting it. Link in the description, but that's done. TCR TVR Pod, if you didn't know, there's a fun little mini series of podcast episodes of me and Moog talking about some books for the Common Room TBR over on my Patreon. And we did that. Boom, boom, boom. Vlognica, spoiler alert, I'm filming this in December. I'm still in the throes of Vlognica, hence the 71%. And then plan a creator event. This one actually turned into something else, but then we still did it. And then down here, you can see all the different weeks and the progress, and then the different tasks. But then if you go into a goal, there's none incomplete because we did them all. But if you go complete, these are all of the things that we did. And then with the tasks, you can assign a due date, which week it's in, which goal it's for, and a person. If we take a look at this one's very satisfying. 100%, 100%, 100%. This was the first one that me and Moog were like in it together. And so we have this Reels experiment that I did with trial Reels, but apparently the way that like Meta's algorithm works now is that you can't do that. But I made a whole video on Instagram about it. The Creator Talks newsletter, we had a whole goal for this, everything that we needed to do to get that out there. And then update website. Speaking of which, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Look at all of these tasks that we had to do the website, but we did it. Thanks to Squarespace. So whether you are just starting out in the freelance world or you're a small business owner, Squarespace makes it super easy to create your own beautiful website, engage your audience, and sell anything from physical and digital products to courses and even your time, all in one place and all on your terms. As I have said before, I use Squarespace for my professional websites. I've been using them for years and I absolutely love them. It is so easy to make and build your website in a way that you want it to look with no website design experience. They have tons of templates that you can choose from, and they are all customizable with your own content and assets and branding and colors and fonts and all of that, and they work seamlessly across all different devices. My hannahwitton.com website has changed massively over the years, especially since my career changed 2 years ago. And so Squarespace just has made it so easy to adapt and adjust and update the website as my career has evolved. And Squarespace's website design system, Fluid Engine, is really intuitive to use and very powerful. You can just drag and drop things and just get really creative and have a good, non-stressful time when designing your website. If you have an online store, then Squarespace Payments is the easiest way to manage all of your payments. Onboarding is really fast and simple, and there are loads of different options for how your customers can pay. If you have a service-based business, then Squarespace Invoicing allows you to manage your clients and keep track of invoices all in one place, just so you can have that simplified workflow. So if you are in need of a website, then head to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you're ready to launch it into the world, you can go to squarespace.com/morehannah to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, back to the 12-week year plan. Okay, so I have some lessons learned from how we've been using this. The first is that we can really only have 3 to 4 goals per 12 weeks, depending on their size. So these goals that we pick are on top of regular stuff. So like this YouTube channel, all of my commitments already on Patreon, and then any brand work that comes in, just like all of the stuff that is constantly happening, that doesn't go on here because that's kind of taken care of. This is for those big jobs that need doing, like updating the website, or if I want to plan a workshop or event, that goes on there. It's all of the like extra stuff on top of the usual programming. And we found that 3 to 4 is our sweet spot, our capacity. Obviously here you can see that we have 5. B-roll library doesn't really count. That took Moog like a week to do right at the end of the year. And then Vlognica we knew was only going to be happening in like the final 6 weeks. And so Creator Wheel of Life and TCR TBR Pod were like in the first 6 weeks. For some of these, it was like once they were done, and they were kind of all happening at different times. So that's why there's more here. But we did also have sell Notion templates as a goal originally for this 12-week batch, but we had to bump it because that was too much. Lesson learned. But what we tend to do is put everything on there that we want to do and have an idea of the priorities in our heads, and then go from there and kind of adjust, maybe change goals or move goals depending on our capacity as things go. All about flexibility. For instance, when we started this 12 weeks, selling the Notion templates was higher up on the priority list than planning this creator event. Me and Moog both kind of said, okay, if one of these things is getting bumped, it's going to be that event. And instead what happened was I ran the Homestretch Goals workshop, which wasn't a creator event in what I envisioned at the beginning when I set this goal, but that is what that goal then turned into as my priorities changed like halfway through. And so we did that instead, and the Notion templates got postponed. Okay, now it's time to have some fun. Let's plan the next 12 weeks together. Okay, so our 12 weeks starts on the 5th of January, and that takes us until the 27th of March. That might be a bit more than 12 weeks, but it doesn't matter. That's basically until the Easter holidays because I'm in term time, baby. Okay, as you can see, there are 7 goals here. What the fuck's that about, Hannah? You said that your capacity was 3 to 4 goals. Correct. But as I'm thinking of things in the previous 12 weeks, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do this. I just dump them in here. And now it is time to refine it. The other thing that is important to note about this 12-week chunk is that in January, I am going to be starting IVF. Basically, whenever that period comes, on day 2 of that period, which is due, who the fuck knows, I've got PCOS, in January, day 2 of that period, I start the medication. So because of that, this 12 weeks is going to look a bit different. IVF, I've heard, is very time intensive and very emotionally and mentally draining. And who the fuck knows what those hormones are going to do to me. So I need to plan these 12 weeks with that in mind. So instead of the 3 to 4 goals, I'm thinking 2 to 3. 3 absolute max. But I know myself and I'll probably end up like setting more, but as we go, I will remove things. So now that we know the current context, let's figure out what my priorities are. This is going to be hard. Let's see if there's anything that I can just like immediately get rid of. Honestly, move Substack to Patreon. For that, I'm essentially waiting on Patreon to be able to do that for me because they don't have a self-serve way of importing all those contacts. So that can go. That's not happening anytime soon. Boop. Develop podcast idea. This is something that's been milling around in my head for months and months. I talk to people regularly about it. I'm kind of thinking about it, but I'm not scheduling any time in to actually properly develop that. That can go. That is a huge, momentous task. And I know how much work is involved in creating a podcast, and like, not the year you'll start an IVF, girl. Not that year. But I'm still gonna be thinking about it. Okay, 2026 goal setting workshop. I really wanna do this. I don't know what it's gonna look like. I feel like, because of my capacity, even though like I would love to do an in-person bingo card making workshop, like get loads of like art supplies and things and do something in person. Realistically, am I gonna be able to do that when I'm doing IVF treatment? I don't know. I've never done IVF before. But doing something online in a similar way that we did the home stretch goals workshop, that is possible. And also because of the timings of it, it's either I do it before the end of Feb or I don't do it at all. So I'm gonna keep that there because I feel like if we can pull it off before the end of February, and we had a really tight turnaround in terms of planning for the home stretch goals one. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but if I just think of it in a similar way to that as like a fun experiment, let's all come together, then maybe it could work. Okay, TCR TBR Pod 2.0. So the first batch of episodes that me and Moog did on the Patreon for this mini Patreon podcast was looking at our list of books from 2024. If you don't know, over on my Patreon, every year, we've done it 2 years now, so every year we curate a list of books that the community has been loving and recommending. And it's like our community recommendations TBR list, TCR TBR. And so that first batch of episodes were for the 2024 list. And so going forwards, I now want to do episodes about our 2025 list that came out a few months ago. And there's a couple of things here because I've got different versions of this podcast in my head that all require different levels of work. So there's like the really low lift version where it's just me solo voice noting about all these different books. And then there's the slightly heavier lift where it's me and Moog together talking about some of the books. And then there's the heavier lift, which is getting other people, like other friends who I know who have read the books, to talk about them with me. And so consideration number one is my capacity. And consideration number two is patrons' interest. And your interest if you're not a patron already, and if one of these versions you would be interested in. But I've done a Patreon end of year survey, and so I'm gonna leave this here for now because I need to have a look at the results of that survey to gauge what people's interests are, because I'm not gonna do like the heavier lift, like the harder version of it, if that's not what people want. Like why would I give myself extra work? I am a recovering millennial girl boss who is about to start IVF, remember? So that I'm gonna leave here for now, but the picture of how it looks is unknown. Also, this doesn't have to happen in this first 12 weeks. There is that. This is something that can be postponed, but I'm gonna leave it there for now because you never know, maybe I'll read one of the books on the list and I'll be like, I've got things to say. And so I do an impromptu podcast episode. Who knows? Okay, let's go here whilst we're talking about Patreon. IVF diaries. Sound familiar? I know a lot of people miss the hormone diaries, but I have not really wanted to pick up my camera and film the trying to conceive process for the last 2 years in the same way that I did before. Also, it's very repetitive from the first year, so I don't know how interesting it would be. But there is something about starting IVF that I want to document and share. In terms of videos, that will be way in the future, but I think I want to do like written updates, kind of like blog form, IVF diaries style, in not quite real time, but close-ish to real time over on my Patreon. And there's a couple reasons for this. One is the kind of like safety and security of it being paywalled content and it being very personal and it feeling, yes, safer to kind of pop that on there. And the other is because in January, I'm planning on doing videos on this channel every other week, at least whilst I'm in treatment. I'm just kind of panicking a bit, honestly, about how I'll be feeling, how much I'll be able to do, how much I'll want to do. And so I'm intentionally lowering that workload, but I also know that that means that I'm gonna earn less money in January, February, March time. And so that is also why I'm like, let's do this thing that I want to do over on the Patreon, in the hopes that maybe people are interested in that and it kind of like offsets the loss from making less videos. Is that what people are supposed to say out loud when they're promoting their Patreon? But hey, there you go, the transparency of it all. But before we made the decision to do IVF, I already have sponsors booked in on this channel. Squarespace is one. I have 2 contracted videos with them a month. And then there's a couple other ones, some other months. So some months there might be 2 videos from me, other months there might be 3, but my plan is to do every other week unless there's an already contracted sponsored video for the duration of me doing IVF treatment. Just letting you know. And by the time you're watching this, there probably already is an IVF diaries up on the Patreon, all about why we decided to do IVF and my thoughts and feelings going into it. So this now takes us to goals that have been postponed from previous 12-week year plans. As I mentioned, selling Notion templates, that is up here. I would love to be able to get this done. It's just a lot more work than I realized, but again, it's one that there is no rush on, although maybe slight rush because having the extra income that I could get from that would be very useful at this time. But I think in my head, instead of putting pressure on us to like have it all done and having all of the Notion templates like up for sale in this 12 weeks, I just want to get the templates done because they're a bit messy, like in the ones that I use. And so I just need to duplicate them, clean them up, give them a little polish, make sure they look the way that I want, and then also kind of like add some instructions and information about each of the templates. So that's something that I can just be like tinkering around with, hopefully. So that one is staying. Patreon strategy group course. I really want to do this. I had a lot of interest at the end of last year about my Patreon strategy work and from people who were interested in doing the group course. And I said to all of them, I will reach out in Jan. And I'm still going to do that. But I fear with IVF, I think I'll hopefully have capacity to like develop the group course, like do the behind the scenes. I already have my like Patreon strategy one-on-one course. And so it's just about adapting it to a group situation. But in a group course, I'm also a bit like, that might require some more pre-recorded videos, or it might require more worksheets. I don't know. This is what I need to figure out. I just don't know if I'm going to have capacity to actually like execute on the group course in this 12 weeks. But I would like to be doing some of the behind the scenes, but then I feel bad to the people who I said, yeah, I'll be able to start in January maybe. Oh no, I've just realized that I'm like not deleting any more things, and I've said that I'm going to be under capacity for this 12 weeks and I have 5 things here. That's silly. Okay, TCR TBR pod is TBC depending on Patreon survey results. Gotta give the people what they want as long as I am happy to give. This one will be easier to do if I do it the same as the home stretch goals workshop. So just like make it free, first 100 people through the door. If I try and do anything else beyond that, then that is like an extra level of work that I just don't feel like I have in me at this time. This should be fairly easy. It will just be me writing about my feelings as I go. I feel like these are the 2 hefty ones, and maybe I should pick one. And I'll be honest, the one that I'm more excited about is the Patreon strategy group course. Notion templates, I don't want to delete this because it's got all of these things in here. But off camera, I'll copy all of this over into the next 12 weeks. Right, let's give these some images. I love a cover. Is this gonna be books? Ooh, bonk. Some lovely old books. And then should we do a bingo card for here? Bingo! These are very silly. Right, this one. There we go. There we have it. I did say that we like to put more in there and then we just get rid of things or postpone them as we go. I basically intentionally set myself too many goals and then scrap them. And I don't feel like a failure for it because it was planned that way. So that is how I plan my whole year, 12 weeks at a time, one school term at a time. But it has been a really genuinely helpful way of managing the projects that we have going on top of the regular stuff that we do, and then also being able to look back and go, oh my God, we did all of these things last year, rather than the kind of mindset that I was in at the beginning of the year before, where I was like, what do I have to show for myself? What have I even done this year? And I'm not pregnant, which wasn't a great feeling. Do you use the 12-week year plan for how you organize your life or work stuff? Or do you use something similar or completely different? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. And I'll see you not next week, but the week after because of the new scheduling. Sorry, not sorry. Bye!